Alright, so this is the fitness iceberg. Now, you guys probably seen these before. They're all over the internet, all over YouTube. People do different icebergs for different subjects. It could be SpongeBob, it could be Skyrim, it could be Minecraft, could be conspiracy theories, could be porn. I don't know. I don't really watch these too much. But what I did notice is there is no fitness icebergs. And if you don't know what an iceberg is, it's a tier list of of a subjects, and it goes from normie tier, so the most obvious information, the most readily known information about a subject, all the way down to the most schizophrenic shit that you can imagine, uh, typically in conspiracy theory area of a subject that may still be valid but not very well known, but typically it's just fucking out there schizo shit that doesn't make any sense. But I'm going to do one today for the fitness iceberg. And the way I'm going to tier this is I'm going to start by each bullet point. I'm going to explain exactly what it is. Uh, it's the best of my knowledge because I haven't done I've done no research for this iceberg. And I actually haven't read through this iceberg yet. I'm just going to wing it with my baseline information on these different subjects about fitness. And I'm pretty confident I'll be able to do it because I'm pretty well versed in the fitness, lingos and different information about fitness. But there might be some things here that might be just fucking batshit insane. I'll have no idea the context or what it means. But if that comes up, then I might look it up and explain the definition from the internet. But no research prior. And for each bullet point, I'm gonna rate 1 to 10 on how valid said bullet point is. So it might be super valid, uh, really super valid bullet point, in which case I'll give like a 10. It might be like, somewhat iffy, in which case it might be like a 5. And then it'll be something that's super dog shit, makes no sense, and that'll be like a 1. So let's get into it. So, tier 1. This iceberg doesn't have tiers, so I've added my own. So the first one is, do you even lift tier? The most normie tier, readily available information about fitness. So this is tier 1, and the first one is lifting. So, lifting. This is about as normie as it gets. This is about as intro as it gets when it comes to fitness. It's just the process of going to the gym or being at home and lifting your body weight or lifting the weights. And I'd say the validity scale on this one, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. Lifting is about as paramount as it gets. Without lifting weights, you don't get the stimulus, you won't get the gains. So, all right, number 2, no grains. So this one's a bit more esoteric. I wouldn't expect it here, but whatever. No grains. This refers to the idea that grains are highly inflammatory, or at least they think that people think they are, or some people will say they are. And the idea is, yeah, you when you consume grains, it's not good for your gut biome, gives you leaky gut, increases your inflammatory response. So you get sore joints, or you might have skin problems from grains. And with this one, the validity, I think it changes person to person. For me, this is, a 5 out of 5. I can't really consume grains. I get fucked up by them. But for other people, it might be a 1 out of 5. So I'm going to, sorry, this is a 10 for me, rather. 10 out of 10. The grains fuck with me hardcore. Whereas, some real Scandinavian motherfucker might find that grains are no worries. And that's a 1 out of 10. So I'm going to give this a 5 out of 10. Bang in the middle, because for some, yes, for some, no. Grains can be bad, but they can also be fine. Alright, number 3, protein powder. So, this is one of those super, intro level fitness things where you start lifting weights, when you're like 14, 15 years old, and you're like, oh, mum, I need to go to the GNC and I need to get some protein powder. Well, what the fuck's protein powder? Well, protein powder is a milk, to my knowledge, is a milk supplement. Basically, they refine milk and turn it into whey, which is high in protein. Typically 22 to 24 grams of protein per whey scoop. If it's a mass gainer, it might be like 50. And this one, I don't really see the huge point behind whey protein. I think it's better to get micronutrients from, meat or eggs. But, if you don't have money or time or something, whey protein might be alright. But a lot of kids will get into the whey protein thinking it's going to be like trend. When it's just like, it doesn't, a lot of the times these whey proteins don't even have active ingredients in them. So whey protein or protein powder, I'll give it a 3 out of 10. It's kind of meh. Alright, number 4, hiking. Hiking. Yeah, this one, I like this one. Hiking's good. I think it's good cardio. Good for getting rid of that skinny fat build that normies in the DYEL tier will have typically. Good for getting sunlight. Good for being out in the nature, getting good positive ions or whatever the fuck. Yeah, and hiking. If you don't know what hiking is, it's just going out into nature and walking around a bunch, and it's good. I give it a 5 out of 10. Hydration. Now this one's a big one. Hydration. If you don't know what hydration means, it just means how much water you've consumed basically on a daily basis, and this is very important for fitness, as when we work out we expend a lot of water, and also we need water for flushing blood and ATP and creatine into our muscles, and just generally feeling energized and healthy. Good for our skin and all other things, but in fitness related, hydration is very important for the pump and energy expenditure. I give this like a 9 out of 10. Fitness. Fitness. So I assume this means Reddit fitness. I've never been on Reddit fitness, so this might be the first stump where I don't quite know much about it, but I do know that Reddit is a fucking cesspit full of bug men and fucking just inhuman type humans or inhumans. So I would, all I could say is, if you're a big Marvel fan and you want to look at how to get Thor physique and look at the cool pop vinyls I have in my home gym, then maybe Reddit fitness would be for you. I give this a 0 out of 10 though, personally. I would say stay away from Reddit fitness. Fitness cuckolds, fit selves. Stretching. Yeah, stretching's good, especially when you first start. A lot of people don't have good mobility. Stretching is just the process of, stretching out a muscle, so elongating the tissue so that over time the fascia and the fibers will become more flexible. And this is really important for people when you want to get good at squatting or deadlifting. You might not have the prerequisite range of motion or mobility to do these movements, so stretching is really important. And there's some studies that will show that stretching out the fascia, the muscle fascia, or the fascia around the muscles, will help expand the muscle tissues themselves. They might be limited by how tight your fascia is. So stretching, I give a 6.5 out of 10. You should stretch. Stretch is good. Garlic. This one, this should be further down the list. This is more of an esoteric one. This is like an Eric Bugenhagenism, where I guess the idea behind garlic in this context would be that garlic increases your nitric oxide levels, and thus you would have a better pump during the gym. Good for erections too, if you're like you're a coomer and you can't get an erection anymore. But for a beginner, it's not really you don't need to be doing garlic. But I'd say garlic. I give it a 4 out of 10. It might give you a little bit of pump, but it tastes like fucking ass. Cardio. So cardio is just the process of cardiovascular training. So essentially, anything that raises your heart rate up about 10 to 15 above average heart rate. So if your average heart rate is 70, then anything around 85 would be cardio. So I would say cardio is probably a 6.5 out of 10. And again, it depends on context. If you're a big fat bodybuilder or a powerlifter trying to bulk up, then cardio would still be important for your heart health, but not as important. Whereas if you're a DYEL guy, you got a skinny fat physique, then maybe it's time to go for a hike or the cardio. Lose some of that excess body fat to increase your testosterone and get rid of that shitty skinny fat physique. So cardio, 6.5 out of 10. I think you should do a bit of cardio, high intensity cardio. Creatine. I would put this somewhere a little lower down once again, but creatine again is one of those introductory supplements where it's like, oh, when I take my creatine, I'm gonna be fucking huge, and your mum's gonna think you're on trend, and all the kids at school are gonna think I'm huge. When in reality, it's good, but it's not that good. Creatine is a supplement that you take that essentially allows you to store more water into your muscle cells, so you get more kind of hyperplasia. Sorry, not hyperplasia, sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. So more liquid in the muscle, more glucose in the muscle, more ATP. You get quite a bit of water retention too, though. So if you got fat cheeks like me, maybe it's not the most shit hot supplement for you. But you get 10-20% increase your performance a little bit. I give it a 6.5 out of 10. I give it a 6.5 out of 10. Dancing. Now this one's interesting. Dancing. I never really thought about this one, but dancing is just kind of the idea of rhythmically moving around, I suppose. I can't dance, I'm very white. But yeah, the idea you move around with rhythm and grace. And, it's decent cardio, I suppose. I guess if you look at Jamaican dirty dancing, those people are fucking jacked and so athletic. So, maybe there's something to it. I'll give it a 3.5, a 3.75 out of 10. Dancing. No sugar. All right, this one is this is a meme. Definitely a starter meme. A lot of people will tell you no sugar. I would hope that the context is no refined sugar because that makes sense. So I'm gonna take it in the context of no refined sugar. In which case, sure, that's good, and that's just the idea that you don't consume any refined sugar, so like candy and soft drinks and stuff. In which case, no worries, no sugar. That's a good idea, but you still want to have good sugars from about 40 to 50% of your diet. You look at a Ray Peat or a Mike Mensa, they all say that it's a biological fact that our brain runs off sugars. So sugars are very important. Just depends on what sugars you're having. So fruits and honey and carbohydrates very paramount. So no sugar, no refined sugar. I'll give no refined sugar. I'd say a 7 out of 10, and I'd say no sugar in general would be a 0 out of 10, unless you're like some carnivore kind of motherfucker. Sauna. So, I don't know too much about the sauna. I've only done it a few times in my life. Sauna is essentially you go into a heated room, typically by rocks that have steam on them or whatever the fuck. I don't really know. And you're just sitting there and you just get really fucking hot and sweaty. And supposedly it's good for you. Supposedly it increases numerous different health markers, including certain heat shock proteins that release different anti-fucking Alzheimer chemicals, etc. But as far as the fitness context, I'd say, maybe, I don't know. I haven't read enough studies. It supposedly helps with inflammation and testosterone, so I'm going to say a 5 out of 10 from a super layman's perspective. Green tea. Now, green tea, again, one of those things I don't know. The fitness, I suppose it would be talking about its diuretic properties, which will help you losing weight. So green tea, don't know much about it. I fucking hate tea because I'm actually a man, like I'm a man, so I don't drink tea. So I'll give it like a 3 out of 10 because it just tastes like shit, and I don't know how diuretic it truly is. 8 to 9 hours of sleep. This is a good one. 8 hours of sleep, 9 hours of sleep, that's a really good one. This refers to the idea of you should get around about 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night to recover from your workout, get your central nervous system recovered, get your muscles recovered, get the tendons, and then also to recover your hormones and mentally. So 8 to 9 hours of sleep, very, very good. I would give this a 10 out of 10. You get less than that, unless you have that genetic predisposition that allows you to have 5 hours of sleep. I would highly suggest that you get at least 8, 10 optimal. Test. This refers to testosterone, I would assume. In what context, I'm not sure. I assume because it's the normie tier, that this is just referring to understanding what testosterone is. In which case, testosterone is the male hormone, or predominantly male hormone, that is responsible for creating, androgenic hormones like DHT, and generally just when you think of testosterone, you're thinking of building muscle and masculine virilization of the man or woman, if a woman takes test. But testosterone paramount for hypertrophy and strength and health. I'll give this a 9.5 out of 10. Cold showers. Last one in the do you even lift tier list. Cold showers. Same as sauna. I've heard, heard some stuff about these. Not heaps. I haven't gone a deep dive on cold showers, but I know that they can help. Supposedly taking cold plunges and cold showers post-workout is not good, but before workout it's good. Or one way around the other. I think it might be after you work out that if you have a cold shower, it massively detracts from your hypertrophy response. But if you take it beforehand, you could potentially increase your testosterone by a giant degree. I don't know. Go watch Andrew Huberman. I'll have to research this in the coming weeks and perhaps make a video about it. But yeah, cold showers, and this is just getting in the shower and making it fucking cold and being miserable and thinking you're Wim Hof, I guess. I'll give this like a 5 out of 10. I'd imagine these are somewhat good for you, but I'm not sure to what scale. Alright, tier 2, the Scooby tier. Getting a little more out there with this one, but still somewhat in the realm of reality. So let's get into it. Honey. So this refers to the sucrose food that bees produce. Honey, yeah, this one, I see some validity in it. You get the Eric Bugenhagens that consume their honey before and during their workout for the increased glycogen storage, supposedly good for energy. And then you also have the Canadian equivalent of maple syrup, and you see Devil the Rat consuming constant streams of maple syrup, equally high in sucrose. And I'd say, yeah, this is probably like a 5.5 out of 10. It's somewhat valid. I could see there'd be some sort of intra-workout increase from consuming honey, but not be-all, end-all or anything like that. Alright, greasing the groove. So this refers to the idea of training a movement numerous times a day with just really high frequency and decently high volume, very low intensity. So, for example, if you wanted to get really good at doing pull-ups, you would do, pull-ups every single day on the hour, 3 pull-ups, just to get the central nervous system really efficient at doing that movement. In the same way that if you wanted to learn how to ride a bike, you would just ride a bike as much as you can until you learn how to do it. Same on a lower scale for a movement like a pull-up, or a bench press, or this is where Bulgarian training comes from. Bulgarians used to do Olympic lifts on the hour, maxing out numerous times a day to get their central nervous system really effective, or really efficient rather, at doing something relatively technical, such as an Olympic lift. Whereas, a bicep curl, everyone knows how to do a fucking bicep curl, so doing a bicep curl every day isn't going to really necessarily increase a hell of a lot, unless maybe you want to get really strong at biceps, I don't know. So yeah, greasing the groove. Organ meats. So this refers to organs. So consuming organs from cows, sheep, humans maybe, I don't know. And it refers to the idea, I'd assume, that organ meats typically have a bit more micronutrient profile than other meats. A lot of C and A in organ meats. And if you're on, a carnivore diet, then maybe organ meats would be really important for you because you wouldn't be consuming any C from your vegetables or your fruits, so you would supplement through organ meats. I would give this a 6 out of 10. I think organ meats have their place if you can stomach them. I hate them. They taste like shit. Taste like dick. So I don't fucking eat them. But if you can bear them, I think they're great. I think they're highly nutritious and just taste like shit. Alright, /fit. So this is a 4chan board about fitness. It's just a cesspit. It's probably a little bit better than the Reddit board, but it's just full of dudes posting their physiques and asking other gay guys to rate their physique, and just generally kind of a cesspit full of degenerates that, I don't know. Not a huge fan of fit. Maybe some good info there, but generally not super based as they think they are. So I would give this a 3 out of 10. Alright, no shampoo. So this one is the first one where it's a bit ambiguous. I'm not totally sure, but I would assume that this refers to the idea that shampoo has maybe BPAs in it, and that BPAs being, giving you xenoestrogens from the plastics, lowering your testosterone. That's the only thing I could think of. I have no idea otherwise, but I would assume that's it. I'll give this a 1 out of 10, maybe. Who knows? Foam rolling. This one. Well, foam rolling is just basically a PVC pipe that has foam on it, and then you just roll it out throughout your body to get the tension and knots out of your back or your legs or wherever you got tension at. Um, yeah, foam rolling. That's what that is. I'll give that maybe a 4 or 5 out of 10. I'd say there's a place for it. You know, if you got really tight quads or really tight hamstrings to the point where when you're doing squats and deadlifts and shit, you haven't got the adequate range of motion due to the tightness, then sure, do a bit of foam rolling. But overall, I don't bother with it. Kefir. So this is a probiotic drink. It's kind of like a yogurt drink. Um, the idea is that yogurt, I think, has like 1 billion probiotic organisms in it, or whatever the fuck. Whereas kefir has like 50 billion, or maybe even more than that. I'm not totally sure, but I know it's high as fuck, and it's, about as bang for the buck as you can get when it comes to increasing your gut health without eating something shit like sauerkraut or, whatever the fuck. So that's what kefir is. I give that a 7 out of 10. I think people should consume kefir. I think it's good. I didn't realize how long this list actually goes for. My throat's already drying up, but let's get through it. NoFap. So this refers to the idea of never masturbating. And yeah, it's good. I think NoFap's good. I think not so much for the testosterone benefits. I think that's wildly exaggerated. And on the 7th day or whatever the fuck, it goes back to normal or whatever. Like, I haven't done the research, but I know it's not as you're not gonna fucking levitate, and women aren't gonna like try and rape you because you're NoFapping. It's not that good. But what it is good is for you to just stop playing with your penis like a fucking loser. Like, why would you play with your willy? It's so stupid. So I think a NoFap's like a 9 out of 10. I think you shouldn't jack off, and maybe it increases your test a little bit. I think it will increase your mentality, which will by proxy change your testosterone. But yeah, NoFap's pretty cool. Don't play with your willy. Coconut oil. This one, this could refer to a few things. I'm gonna assume it refers to the idea of cooking with coconut oil because it's high in calories. But so is any fat-based oil you use anyway. I think butter has the most anyway. But coconut oil, you cook food with it, and then your food tastes like shit. You may as well use butter anyway. And then the other benefits would be it'd be good for your skin, but that's not really fitness related. And then you could do oil pulling where you put coconut oil in your mouth and it gets all the guck out of your teeth, maybe. And I don't see how that's fitness related either. But yeah, I give this like a 3 out of 10. I don't really see the point. Go mad. So Go Mad is a gallon of milk a day. So you consume a gallon of milk a day. It's pretty hectic, and if you're lactose, good luck. But there might be some benefits to it. I think, it's good if you're a hard gainer and you need to bulk up and you like milk a lot or something. It's one of those Eric Bugan-agonisms that quickly fell off once he stopped doing it. But yeah, I mean, it's alright. I'll give it maybe a 4 out of 10 if you're a real hard gainer and you're a hard cunt and you like to drink fucking milk. Alright, second last, fasting. So this refers to the idea of eating in a window, basically. So you would, eat your dinner at 10 at night, go to sleep, wake up, don't have breakfast, and then you might, fast for 8 hours. So you get up at 8 o'clock, then you don't eat until 5 in the afternoon, and that's a fast. And then you break the fast, breakfast, at 5 o'clock, or whatever it may be. You might do a 24-hour fast and do the 1 meal a day thing, or whatever the fuck it is. But fasting is the idea of not eating for a decent amount of time. And the benefits of this is, I'm pretty sure it increases your HGH to a certain degree. It's good for people who are cutting, who want to lower the amount of food they eat throughout the day, because you can only eat in a certain window. And there might be other benefits like mental clarity once you get adjusted to it and stuff like that. But generally, I mean, it can be hard to get into, and if you're not cutting weight, it's not really super good. So let's say like a 6 out of 10 if you're cutting. Otherwise, maybe you're a Muslim or something. I don't know. ZN/MG. So this is the first one. I truly do not know what this means, and I feel like I should know, and I feel like I do know, but I just don't know right now. I just can't figure out what this exactly refers to. So that's the first one. I don't know. Sorry. So, tier 3. I've aptly named this sick cunt tier. I can't really read that, but sick cunt tier since it's Ziz, and this is where you start becoming a bit of a sick cunt. So first one's turmeric and ginger. I don't know a whole lot about either of these ingredients. I know turmeric is an Indian spice or kind of, yeah, I think it's a spice or powder, grounded up powder they use in their disgusting curries. But there are some health benefits. I know that it's good for your gut. It's good for your skin if you put it on your skin. Good for inflammation. Different health markers supposedly increase when you consume turmeric or put it topically. Ginger, I think, is in the same sort of boat. It's good for your gut, but other than that, I'm not totally sure of the different health benefits of ginger. Both taste like shit, so who cares? You know, if something tastes like shit, then I just don't bother. Unless it has like a massive percentage increase. So, yeah, again, it's kind of like the raw meats where I'm sure I can get the benefits elsewhere anyway. So, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. I'm sure there's benefits, and if you can stomach the tastes, then no worries. Sleep naked. This is an interesting one. I remember reading studies about this a long time ago when I was a wee lad. And some of the benefits that come with this. And I used to sleep naked. I don't anymore because I'm a grown man. And you never know who's going to break, someone breaks into your house and you got to get out of bed with your willy out, and it might be a little awkward. It might be a bit deterrent. I don't know. It might actually be a good thing. But the actual process of sleeping naked, if I have to explain it, you go to bed and you don't wear any clothes. And I think some of the benefits, I remember vaguely it being, increased HGH, increased oxytocin, and just increased sleep in general. But yeah, sleep naked, I give it a 4 out of 10. Sun tanning. This one's pretty important. Vitamin D, super important for numerous different health factors, including testosterone and skin and hair and nails and stuff like that. And one of the only valid ways of getting vitamin D is going in the sun, apart from different foods, but mostly from the sun you get your optimal vitamin D from. So, sun tanning is really important. If you don't know what sun tanning is, well, maybe you're like one of those weird Finnish motherfuckers that never get sun any, half the year. But you go out in the sun, you sit in the sun, ideally with as many clothes off as possible, without lawsuits, and then you absorb the UV rays and vitamin D, and then you get the benefits. And I would give this one an 8 out of 10. Just because of the vitamin D and different factors that are important from getting sun. Ashwagandha. This is a real Indian scam. This one's bullshit. There's so many different studies that show that it strips you of other vital, key components for mental health. I can't cite them right now. Cite the study, bro. I can't. But I know for a fact that ashwagandha is shit. And I know anecdotally within myself and other people that have taken it, they've had either side effects that weren't too shit hot, and they definitely didn't get any real good benefits from it, that's for sure. Maybe a little testosterone at the expense of other different things declining. So fuck ashwagandha. There's far better nootropics out there. I give this a 1 out of 10. Zerches. Now, Zerches, if I'm not mistaken, is again, one of those kind of Eric Bugenhagen memes that kind of fell out. Oh, you know what? I'll give this one to the Bloat Lord Kriakos Grizzly because he's far stronger in this movement, or most movements. And the Zercher is basically just any barbell movement where the barbell is sitting in between your elbow flexor and your forearm. So, right on the elbow, between the biceps and the forearm. So Zercher squats, Zercher deadlifts, anything where you're holding it like this and just having agony in your fucking bicep tendons for no real good reason apart from modding random twinks over in the Turkish border if you're some big Greek bloat lord. But I'll give them a 2 out of 10. I don't see the real point of them. Apart from maybe pain maxing. Coffee maxing. So this would refer to the idea of just consuming a massive amount of coffee. And I guess the benefits of this would be that coffee has been shown to increase DHT, and that when you consume a shit ton of coffee, you're always amped and energized. So, it might be good for your performance in the gym. But I'd imagine there's some downsides to consuming a shit ton of coffee, including adrenaline dumps and tolerance issues and kind of maybe some neurology stuff. But I don't know too much about coffee maxing. I've done it before. I've done the whole 6-7 coffee a day thing, and it didn't really do anything for me. So I'll give this a 4 out of 10. Okay, Ray Peat. So this is a nutritionist, an American nutritionist who died recently. He was very ahead of his time. Had a lot of different contributions to nutrition, including I think he worked on the vertical diet, Stan Erfeting's vertical diet, which I would highly suggest to anybody. And I'll probably do a future video on this. The vertical diet, if you don't know what that is basically it's a nutritional plan based on pure logic, and you're just trying to eat as wide array of micronutrients as possible to hit your baseline with the easiest bioavailable foods. And Ray Peat worked on this. A lot of the theories in that book were based off Ray Peat's theories, such as a carrot a day, or optimal carbohydrates for glucose and glycogen, and just all these different micronutrient dense foods that he advocated. So yeah, Ray Peat's a really smart guy, and I would suggest anybody listening should go watch some of his content or read some of his studies. So I'll give Ray Peat a 8.5 out of 10. 20 squats. Now, this is a program. This refers to a 20 squat program whereby every day you do 20 squats. Yeah, you do 20 squats every day, so you might start with 40 kilo squats, and then the next day you would add like 2.5 kilos, and you would do the same thing again. And the next day, if it takes a little longer to get there, you have to pause a few times in between the squats. Maybe the last 3 squats you have to rest like 5 seconds between squats. Cool. And you just keep going until eventually you hit a plateau and you can't hit the 20 squats, and then you might bring it down a little bit. The 20 squat program, the super squat program is the original one, and there's breathing squat program and all these different squat programs. But I made my own, and I might even make a video about it one day, about how I did 20 rep squats and how I programmed it. I went from a 60 kilo squat for 20 reps to about 120 kilo squat for 20 reps in a very short amount of time. I think it was like a month and a half, or whatever the mathematics really equate to. I think I pretty much got 2.5 kilos every single time, with a bunch of plateaus. But part of my program is not stopping at the plateaus, but then kind of backing off a little bit and then going back up again, kind of like linear progression. So 20 squat program, really fucking cool program. Really, it builds your quads like fucking crazy, and your traps and your neck gets bigger. It's just a fucking excellent program. I'm pretty staunchly against volume, but there's definitely about 20 rep squats that works really well. So I'll give this a 8.5 out of 10. Pineapple. So for those of you who don't know what pineapple is, it's a fruit. And I'd assume the context of this is that in the fitness community, rarely known, but some people are aware of this, that pineapple is really high in protein digesting enzymes, and that when you consume pineapple with different proteins, that you might be able to break down those proteins a little bit more effectively. I don't know the validity of this. I feel like I've had some benefit from this before. I don't consume pineapple right now, but in the past when I did, I feel like maybe I would get less bloating from the meats. I feel like it breaks down the meats quicker. So if you eat a meat and whatever if you eat a meat and a pineapple, and that pineapple is breaking down the meats quicker, like through you can feel it digestively that you're feeling less bloated. I'd imagine that might have some bro science explanation towards as to how it might help your digestion of protein, but I'm not totally sure. I'll give this a 5 out of 10. But pineapple's good. Tastes good. Earthing. So earthing, this refers to the idea of, taking your shoes off and standing out in nature and getting like the positive ions into your being. I don't know a whole lot about this, and I feel like there might be some studies, like scientific studies, that might actually back this. It might not be a total, you know, hippie BS, but um, I don't know. Earthing might work, might not work. I would imagine intrinsically that earthing would be good for you. I feel like being out in nature is good, so maybe it's good to take your shoes off, walk around. If you had the luxury of doing that without, stepping on needles and shit. So I give it like a 6 out of 10. I reckon there's something to it. Chewing. So this refers to something that's not super fitness related. This is more of like a looks maxing kind of inceldom sort of thing. But this is when you get like a hard kind of like chew toy, a human chew toy, or hard mastic gum, and you chew the shit out of it, and it trains your masseter muscles and your temporalis muscles to an extent, giving you more of a defined jaw. But I don't know if I buy that. Maybe if you're super lean, it will. But if you've got a fat, chubby face like I do, then chewing may not be the best because you just get these masseter muscles and push the fat out even more. It's probably not super ideal unless you're shredded up with some like dick skin face. And I don't think it's really the be all end all answer to your inability to talk to women. It's kind of like it's a lookism type of thing, but a 3.5 out of 10. It might work for you. You might also get TMJ and fucking stay up all night with nerve impingements in your fucking jaw. So, stomach vacuums. Now, these are kind of a strange one for me. I've been doing them recently. This is when you basically suck in your diaphragm and your transverse abdominis muscles and kind of just try to get good at sucking your stomach in as much as you can. Kind of like that Frank Zane pose where he's, holding it like that and he's got the fucking tunnel in his stomach. I don't think there's much evidence that it will permanently make your stomach smaller at rest. It might, I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it. I haven't heard enough people talk about it, and I don't think there's really any science behind it. But there is definitely a component where you can get better at the vacuum pose itself by doing the vacuums. That is definitely something you can suck that stomach even further and further as you get better at it. So whether or not it keeps your stomach at rest smaller, don't know. I'm going to keep experimenting with myself and we'll see. Maybe I'll make a video about it, but it definitely is a cool pose. And it's probably good for your organs, moving the organs around. I know Indians do that kind of like weird fucking yoga breathing shit with their fucked up malnutrition stomach be wiggling around or whatever. But yeah, I'll give this a 5 out of 10. It's valid enough. Rocking. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Rocking? Rocking? I'm gonna go on a total limb here, and say this is when you hike, but with like a weight, or not a weight, but like a rucksack or a backpack on your back. So like 60 pounds, kind of like a fucking marine, like a Jocko Willink type of fella. And yeah, so it's like hiking but with weight on your back. I don't know. I feel like heavy weights on your back probably aren't the best thing for your posture because it pushes you into this kind of kyphotic area. And I feel like it's not necessarily good for your joints because if you're like, I'm 85 kilos, if I put 40 kilos on my back, now I'm 125 kilos, go for a bunch of walks. It's like being a fat guy and just getting my joints all fucked up. So I don't know about that one. I'll give it a 3 out of 10 because I might be wrong. But I might not even know what the fuck this means, to be fair too. This might be some like gay, like some sort of gay sex technique for all I know. Nucleus overload. So this is a pretty interesting one. This one, it was coined by a guy who I used to watch a lot as a kid, who has some good advice and some terrible advice. Megan at 3D Alpha. He coined this terminology. It's the idea that when you train something frequently enough that you can increase the satellite cells and nuclei density in a muscle tissue, which then promotes increased hypertrophy response when you start hitting it heavy again. And then there's also, from my own experience and studies on this, is you could also potentially create a hyperplasia effect through bird studies and different studies that imply that high frequency, high volume loads on a muscle can potentially create hyperplasia, which is when a muscle changes the amount of fibers you have, not just the size of the fiber. It's a pretty interesting theory, and I feel like there is definitely some validity to it. You see a lot of anecdotes and a few scientific studies that will back this, but you see this, through thousands of anecdotes, such as soccer players who play soccer their entire lives and then start bodybuilding, and all of a sudden their calf muscles blow up because they've been running high volume on their calves, and then all of a sudden they've got this high intensity and the increased nuclei, and then the hypertrophy response is massively increased. So there's something to it. Definitely anecdotally, you look through all different professions, such as people that do trade work where they're always wheelbarrowing shit around and they start bodybuilding, their traps blow up. Rock climbers, their forearms and back grow really quickly. Arm wrestlers are always training every day, and their forearms are fucking huge. So Nucleus Overload, I give this an 8 out of 10. I think there's something to it, and I'll probably make a video or numerous videos in the future with my experiences, my theories on it, and then also extrapolating on what Megan already spoke about, which is an extra component to it, which I think is really important, which is increasing capillaries in a muscle through these methods. Wim Hof. Wim Hof's pretty interesting. I don't know how. I haven't got a heap of experience with it. This is the idea of basically hyperventilating yourself for, a few rounds of 30 hyperventilating breaths, holding your breath out, holding it back in, and then resetting and seeing how long you can hold your breath basically by the end of it. And supposedly it helps massively with autoimmune responses, your ability to deal with the cold, your ability to deal with mental health issues, all these different things. Physical capability increases. Alkalining your system essentially is Wim's words. I've done this on and off for a while, and anecdotally you can feel it when you first do it. There's definitely something to it because you get a lot of physiological responses when you do it, and that means something's fucking happening, for good or worse. But I would give this a 6 out of 10. I think there's definitely some validity to do it, and Wim has supposedly helped thousands upon thousands of people around the globe, taken 7-year-old cancer victims up the second largest mountain on the planet in their underwear. Like, I don't know, that sounds pretty miraculous to me. So maybe there's something to it. Cable core exercises. You'll often hear people say, don't do cable movements, especially for core, because core's functional. Shut the fuck up. Cable core exercise is the idea that you you're training your core with cables rather than body weight or weights. And I like this idea because a lot of the time, different core movements have a terrible moment arm or kind of resistance curve. For example, when you do a sit-up, you're laying flat. The hardest part of the sit-up is from here to here. Once you get to about here, now it's fucking super easy. It's kind of like doing a bicep curl and doing it all the way up to here. It makes no fucking sense because here all the tension's on your front delt. So, crunches or even leg raises to an extent, you're limited by the gravity and moment arm of the movement. So, I find with cable exercises, as per a lot of different muscle groups, you can keep the tension on it the entire way, but especially with ab exercises where the constant tension is so fucking poor. So I like cable exercises. I like cable crunches. I like cable twists for the obliques. Leg raises, I like cable leg raises. I think these are really good. So I'll give these a 7.5 out of 10. All right, this is the 4th tier. We'll call this the Richie P. Tier 4. So, let's start. Shaving head for vitamin D. So now we're getting a little more schizo. Some more esoteric type of things. So, shaving head for vitamin D. I've never heard of this one before that I know of or can remember. I'd say there's some validity to it because your hair does block vitamin D, especially if you've got a lot of hair like me. How important this is, I don't know. Just take your shirt off or take your pants off. But maybe if you like really want lots of vitamin D, then maybe you should shave your head, get more vitamin D in your system. But I'll give this like a 2 out of 10 because it just seems largely unnecessary. And yeah, if you don't know what this means, then there's something wrong with you. I shouldn't have to explain this one. Charcoal cleanse. So, charcoal cleanse refers to consuming activated charcoal, typically on a fast, and the idea is it cleanses out any bad bacteria in your stomach or, microplastics, things of this sort. Just getting general toxins out of your body. So I'd say this one is somewhat valid. I don't know how much science there is behind it, but anecdotally, a lot of people will stand by activated charcoal as a fasting cleanse. I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10. Alright, pullovers. So this one again is one of those ones where it could be one man's 1 and one man's 10. For me, this is a 1 in some context. So a pullover there's 2 different types of pullovers you can do, or there's a few, but we'll go with the main ones you can do, which is the dumbbell pullover, when you get a dumbbell laying down and you pull it up over, primarily for the lats, sometimes for chest. That one fucking sucks, and it sucks especially for me, because if you have any kind of injuries in your shoulders or loose, kind of unstable hypermobility like I do everywhere throughout my body, it fucking really sucks, because your clavicle will start popping, your fucking, your chromium will start popping, everything will pop the fuck up, and you won't feel it in your lats, or at least I don't. However, if you were blessed enough to come across a old school Nautilus equipment cable machine pullover, like the Dorian Yates Blood and Guts fucking machine, now that, I would imagine, would be a 10. Because that shit looks fucking excellent. Just the moment, the whole movement, the full range of motion, the total contraction through the elbow, and no grip required at all. I've never used one, but I'd imagine it's fucking sick. So I'll give that one a 10. I'll give it a 9 because I've never tried it, and there's an off chance it would really suck for me for whatever reason. But I could imagine that feeling super fucking cool. Row. I feel like that's a person or a last name, and I just don't know who it is. It's probably like some powerlifter with some crazy volume periodization program that's like 12 sets of 1.5 reps for 69 RP. I don't know, just like some silly. I don't know. I actually don't know who the fuck Row is, so we'll give that a 5 out of 10 just based off no knowledge at all. Raw food. So raw food, I don't really know anything about. I obviously it means that you eat your food raw. So raw fruit, raw vegetables, raw meats, etc. I don't know how valid this is. I would imagine just based off, what I know about cooking food and how it increases calorie intake, that I imagine that cooking food, not only is it safer, so you're less likely to get sick, but I'd imagine it might actually increase the nutrient intake of a food, whereas raw food, you'd think that raw food would have more nutrients, because when you cook food, the nutrients would be cooked out of it, whatever, which would be the case if it's microwaved. But if you're cooking it normally, I'd imagine there would be no difference, if not better. So I don't know about the raw food thing. I'll give this like a 3 out of 10, but correct me if I'm wrong. Water filters. This one's one of those kind of out there ones, but it's definitely valid. Water filter is basically just a filter that you put water through, and then it comes through the other side, and the filter gets rid of BPAs, fluoride, and all the different chemicals that you don't want in your system from the water. And you can put these on your faucet of your tap, you can put it in a water bottle, you can put it in your shower, and I think these are really good, especially for the BPAs. But a fluoride decalcifying your pineal gland, so you can fucking see through your third eye, that kind of schizo shit. But it definitely helps with your testosterone to not get the microplastics from the water. So water filters, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think they're good. Massages. Massage, if you know what a massage is, basically it's when someone or something pushes into your muscle or the fascia of your muscle, or the tendons, or the ligaments. So just kind of loosen it up. So it's just deep tissue pressure into different areas of your body to loosen up the tissues corresponding. So I'd say massages are pretty good. There's definitely something to massages in the sense of, if you've got really tight upper back muscles, maybe it's good to get a massage just to make sure everything's working in the right order. Or maybe if you have really tight pecs, you get a massage so that they loosen up a bit and open your posture up. And just generally just feel good. Maybe you'll get a better mind-muscle connection. Maybe it'll increase your muscle insertion. I've heard some work on people who have like chest caves here, the insertion point where the chest doesn't fully insert all the way in, or has a giant gap, like certain WWE wrestlers have this from massive impacts onto their chest. After getting extensive massages into this area, the muscle kind of relaxes and at the tendon, and it kind of comes back in, and the insertion reappears more in the middle. So there might be something to massage on the esoteric end when it comes to trying to fix your shitty insertions. And I'm the king of shit insertions, so maybe I should look more into it. Tren. So trenbolone is a steroid, and it's the most potent steroid known to man, basically. They primarily used to use this to blow chickens up, to make them more muscular before we eat them. And now you've got, 16-year-old Psalm goblins that go from MK677, and they graduate from a meme Psalm to a super potent paranoia-inducing, rape-inducing steroid, and it's really popular now. I give this a 10 out of 10 for results as far as your physicality, but when it comes to the side effects, I give it a 1 out of 10 because it's fucking terrible for you. Psoas. So this is a hip flexor muscle. It attaches to your femur and to one of your lower back lumbars, and this one's an interesting one. I don't know a whole lot about it. I know it's typically a very tight one due to our sedentary natures nowadays, but I also know that certain people have said that when they stretch these out, if they have particularly tight psoas muscles, that they typically get a little taller in height, because you've got to think it is pulling down on the vertebrae from your humerus, which could potentially make you shorter. So stretching is well known to make you a little taller if you do it, but stretching the psoas through the hip flexor could most definitely make you a little taller if it's super tight. David Goggins is a good reference for that. He was 6'1", became 6'2" from stretching out his fucked up hip flexors. Alright, barefoot. This is one of those, this ties back into the whole earthing thing. But the idea of barefoot is that you go everywhere without shoes on, like a fucking hippie. A stinky, shitty foot, fucking needle and foot hippie fuck. I think it's retarded. I think if you're going barefoot everywhere, you're just gonna have gross fucking feet, and everyone's gonna think you're fucking weird. And you might get some nice positive ions from the fucking ground or whatever, if that is a real thing. But I think it's stupid. It's it's real movement coach man bun stupid shit. So I give this a 0 out of 10. Fuck that. Barefoot's retarded. Floor sleep. Yeah. This refers to the idea of sleeping on the floor, so hard surface and flat. And the idea behind this is that when you sleep on something hard and flat, that your spine can totally align properly, and that if you have back pain or if you just want to improve your spinal health, that sleeping on the floor is good. And I don't know how valid this one is. I never really looked into it too much. Again, as most of these things, I know a little more than the average person, but I don't know enough to speak on it massively. So I'll give this a 5 out of 10, maybe a 5.5, because it just makes logical sense in my brain that we sleep on a hard floor, and that's what we had done until very recently. No GPS. This is the idea that you never have any GPS location on you at all times. So turn it off your phone, make sure all your different devices don't have it. And I guess the idea is that, you're getting zapped by radio waves from the stratosphere, and that's not good for different physiological functions. Maybe your pineal gland or whatever. Gee, this is a bit more of an esoteric one. I'll say this one is a 3 out of 10 because maybe, who knows. Hot peppers. So, I mean, I guess this is just talking about consuming hot peppers for the different health benefits you could probably get from hot peppers. I don't know a hell of a lot. I know that hot peppers supposedly increase your metabolism because hot peppers will increase your thyroid function and make your heart rate higher and sweat a lot. So, sort of a diuretic. But as far as, increasing like testosterone or like any of those kind of like anabolic systems, I don't know. I maybe. I know that hot peppers are hot as fuck, so I don't consume them. I'm very white, like that. But I'll give them like a 5 out of 10 because maybe there's something to it. Nudism. Yeah, nudism. I don't know, man. Maybe. I guess, well, if you don't know what nudism is, it's basically you're naked everywhere, as naked as you can be at all times. I guess there would be some benefits to this in the sense that if you're nude everywhere, you're always consuming optimal amount of vitamin D3 from the sun. You're all tanned and, tanned up. A tan. Don't underestimate the effect of a tan on making you look super jacked. I know that this camera's not doing me justice right now. I'm quite a little bit more tan than I look on the camera. And it definitely... I took a melatonin 2 cycle recently. Got quite a bit more tan than the pasty old self I used to be. And it definitely improves the way you look physique-wise and facially. So, nudism, I'll give it a 3.5 out of 10. Maybe there's something to it, just in the sense that you get more sun exposure. And you get more court cases. Vagal gurgling. So... I vaguely remember this being about the vagus nerve that runs down your neck, and this vagus nerve is responsible for different like fight or flight responses and different emotional responses. And I guess that if you do this, you'll improve your mental health, which I guess can tie into fitness. I don't know. There's probably way more to it than that I just don't know about. But I guess the idea is you stimulate it by gurgling, like, where the fuck you gurgle water or something, Mongolian throat singing shit, and then your vagus nerve gets stimulated, and thus you feel better. I don't know. I'll give it a 4 out of 10 just because I don't know, but it does sound a little far-fetched. Nature training. This one's interesting. I guess this implies the idea of training outdoors and maybe using just trees and logs and stones. I like the idea in the sense that it's good. It'd be good for a beginner because it'd be fun, and you're out in nature, which is good. Again, you're in the sun, you're getting exposed to the good energy or whatever. As far as practical usage, I couldn't see it being overly that great because you can't be super specific when you're just using logs and shit. But you see like those African dudes who are just like out in the fucking jungle lifting like logs and shit, and they're all jacked. Granted, they got the BBC genes, but I give it like a 6 out of 10. Some training's better than no training, so may as well do something. And if you enjoy training out in nature, then why not? The thing is, if you take an exercise to failure, one all-out massive set to failure with some progressive overload, you're going to get gains. So, fuck it, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Jump rope. Let me know if you guys want to see a nature training video. I'll see what I can do. Jump rope. Jump rope is just it's the boxer's cardio. It's the jumping rope. You jump up and down with a rope in your hands and get pumped up calves and get out of breath. It's good cardio, that's for sure. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 just because it's so good at burning calories and it has that kind of nucleus overload effect for your calves when you have shitty calf genetics. So I'm back. It's been a day. I needed some rest because this list is pretty exhausting. It's pretty long. So we're up to what's that? Tier 5. So we're gonna call this BBC tier. Yeah, BBC tier 5. So let's get into this tier. First one, thyroid hormones. Thyroid hormones regulate your metabolism essentially. T3, T4, I think adrenaline, or maybe that's your adrenal glands. Just typically your metabolism. That's why you hear hypo or hyperthyroidism, and it's pretty important for regulation of your metabolism. So if you're trying to be fit and in shape, you don't want to be super fat, then it's good to make sure that your thyroid hormones are in check and working fast so that you can stay as lean as possible while building muscle. So I'll give this one an 8 out of 10. Pretty important shit. And I might even make a video on thyroid function in the future and how to increase your thyroid or even maybe decrease it if that's an issue. Serratus. So this refers to the serratus muscle that runs over your rib cage, and this is a pretty important muscle that's overlooked a lot of the time. It's probably on the esoteric tiers, more esoteric tier, because people don't really think about the serratus, but it's very important for kind of tying the abs into the lats. Kind of gives you those dick fingers running down your fucking rib cage. So pretty important, the old serratus. There's a few different movements that are good for serratus. One is the pullover, but the cable pullovers, not the fucking shitty dumbbell pullovers. Training your abs to an extent will train at crunches, training lats. There are even more kind of advanced versions you can do, like you can do a dip and then kind of do like trunk flexion to hit it. That shit's more of like an Athlete X kind of thing. It doesn't really matter though, but just kind of doing pullovers and training abs will hit your serratus pretty decently. So serratus, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. You should have a serratus or a serratus for you Americans. Alright, exotic meats. So I guess this is kind of points towards the idea of eating rhino or crocodile or shark or whale, kind of just meats that we typically don't eat on a daily basis, or very rarely, if not even throughout entire lifespan, we might not eat these meats. I guess this is referring to the idea that maybe these meats have more micronutrients in them, better protein, maybe more essential amino acids in them. I don't know. I'd imagine maybe these super athletic wild animals might have a healthier system, thus they give you more nutrients. So I'll give this one I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10 because I'm not fully sure. And I've never eaten any exotic meats, but I would like to. I'd like to try some crocodile or whale or whatever the fuck. Give it a go. Bear crawl. This one's kind of one of those ones where I'm not totally sure. I assume a bear crawl refers to just kind of crawling around like a bear as a form of kind of high intensity cardio, or high intensity interval cardio. But I'm not totally sure. It could be something totally else. It could be, again, it's this. I would assume that this iceberg is made by someone on Fit. So some of this stuff could just be weird, esoteric gay moves. Because Fit's full of a lot of gay fellas. I'm not saying that's an issue or anything. I'm just saying that's a fact. Fit's full of kind of gay guys. So maybe bear. I think when I think of bear in the gay community, you think those big hairy bloated dudes. So maybe it's something to do with that. Maybe there's something to being gay and being jacked. I don't know. It seems like a lot of gay dudes are jacked. It might be because of the HGH you get when you get HIV. I don't know. Who knows? Bear crawl, I'll give it a 4 out of 10 because I'm not totally sure. Pineal gland. Now, this refers to the gland in your brain that supposedly produces DMT and kind of allows you to open your third eye, see through your third eye, your mind's eye. And I'm assuming it's referring to maybe decalcifying it. More of the esoteric kind of self-improvement guys will talk about decalcifying their pineal gland from fluoride and plastics so that they can envision things better. So I don't know, I'll give this one maybe a 5 out of 10. Midway, maybe not. I'm not totally sure. 5 out of 10. 432 Hz. I read that backwards. I'm a bit fucked in the head. This refers to the binaural beat frequency, I think. I think it's either HGH or testosterone producing binaurals. I think that's what this frequency does. I'll give it a 4 out of 10 because I would imagine it probably doesn't work, but maybe so. 4 out of 10. Tanning testicles. This refers to the idea that when you tan your testicles, your bare gonads, your balls, your family jewels, that it increases your testosterone, supposedly. Fuck, I'm heaps itchy. And I've seen a lot of studies behind this that kind of don't back it up at all. I think there's a few other things that tanning your balls might help with, certain, mental health chemicals, like oxytocin or something. But tanning your testicles, I don't think this is a valid form of self-improvement or increasing your testosterone. So I'll give it a 3 out of 10. I don't think it works. Salt. It's getting chilly. I'm going to put a jumper on. Alright, salt. So this refers to the mineral, or, the sea salt or Himalayan salt. This refers to people thinking salt isn't good for you, it's bad for you, it's bad for your heart, all that kind of stuff. And that's false. Salt is very good and very important for different minerals in your body, staying hydrated, electrolytes, all these different things. So salt's very important, but it's a key distinction is you don't want table salt, you want pink salt. Sea salt's okay, but supposedly it holds a lot of heavy metals from the ocean. So I think Himalayan pink salt's the way to go, just because I think it's less polluted. And you got to make sure you get a good producer of salt, because sometimes these pink salt producers are just bullshit and not really legit. So make sure you're getting good pink salt and put it on every meal. Part of the vertical diet is putting pink salt in every meal for taste and health. Next one, planking properly serious. So, I guess this is multifaceted. Planking is a ab exercise where you hold your hands in front of yourself and your feet on the ground, and you just make a plank on the ground. You just contract your abs and hold it in place, and it's a good exercise. It's good for training the ab region, abdominal region. It gets hit pretty decently for planking. Even the obliques to a decent degree, and somewhat spinal erectors. But it's also really good at learning how to brace and hold a tight stomach, especially if you decide to make a big fat kind of diaphragm pushed out stomach on the plank, get you good at squatting and deadlifting. But I think even at that, you should still isolate a little bit with abs, like crunches and leg raises, just to make sure you're getting not a static contraction, but like a full range of motion contraction. But plankings are good. I'll give them a 7.5 out of 10. Planks are good. You should do planks. Rare mushrooms. Rare mushrooms. I guess this refers to like just mushrooms that are rare to consume. Maybe it's also referring to like those Chinese mushrooms that the Himalayan trackers would use, and supposedly it would increase their VO2 max and just generally increase their endurance. They would consume these and their endurance would go off the roof, and then get like fucking charlatans like guys from Onnit got these things and synthesized them into different nootropic endurance increasing supplements. So rare mushrooms I don't know much about, but I know that reishi mushrooms, I think that was the one, helps with the endurance if you get the good shit. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10 just based off of reishi mushrooms. I think it's my reishi that increases your endurance. And there might be other mushrooms that do other cool shit for you apart from trip you out and make you a schizo. Gironda. So this refers to Vince Gironda, who was a classic bodybuilder. I'm pretty sure he was one of the silver era natties. And he didn't have the craziest physique, but granted he was natural and it was way back when. But some of his training advice was hit and miss. So one of the things he coined was 32 eggs a day. And this one is widely debated. There's some studies that show that the 32 eggs a day could be comparable to taking a small dosage of Dianabol a day. But at the same time, I mean, the excessive cholesterol. Cholesterol by no means is bad, it's good, but the excessive cholesterol could most definitely be a problem. And then, it's just eating 32 eggs a day is a bit much, and it's 3,000 calories. I mean, of just fucking eggs. I don't know how legit it is. Maybe I'll do it one day and see what's up. But I'd imagine it's not too good for you. He also coined 8x8 training, which turned into 10x10 volume, German volume training. I don't like volume all that much, so whatever. And then he had other theories like cold muscle shock, cold shock training, where you train without any warm-up. Again, I don't know. I'm not too shit hot on warm-ups. I don't think they're really that big a deal. But I don't know about going into a straight set, just bang into it without any warm-up at all. But he had plenty of theories, but I'm not going to list them all here. I'll give Vince a 6 out of 10 because he had a good physique. Bit of a twink though. Elevator surfing. Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know, Elevator surfing. So what they might be trying to say is escalator surfing, which is when, I think this is when you go on the escalators, like the staircases that move, and you fucking like surf down them and get all fucked up. In which case, fitness related, I don't know, maybe it'd be good cardio or like good pain tolerance increasing, or I don't know. But elevator is like when you go up in a room, you go up, right? So I don't know what the fuck elevator surfing would do. Maybe there's something super like schizo and esoteric to this that I just don't know about. I'll give it a 4 out of 10 because I don't know anything about it, so I can't say anything on it. Tanning lamp. So I guess this would refer to a lamp that gives you UV rays, or like a solarium or whatever they're called. They're banned in Australia now because they fuck you up and give you skin cancer, I'm pretty sure. But it's a good way of getting a quick tan if you've got no sun, if you're in Scandinavia or something like that, or Russia. So I don't know how good the lamps, because when I think of a lamp, I think of a small device that shines a little bit of light. So I couldn't imagine a lamp could be all that much use, but maybe they are. So if it does what it's supposed to do, I'll give it a 6 out of 10 because tanning's very good for you and it looks good. It looks good to be all tanned. I'll give it a 5 out of 10 because I don't know if a lamp would give you vitamin D, but the UV might give you a bit of a tan. You're better off just getting a welder. Get one of those welders and just put it in the middle of the room or in the corner of the room. Put it on. Hope it doesn't go blow up or anything, and just stand in front of it naked for like 15 minutes, and you'll get a fucking tan from that shit. Dead hangs. Now this is legit. Dead hangs. This is the idea of just hanging on to a bar and just kind of decompressing your spine and decompressing your shoulder joints, and also training your grip strength. These are good most of the time. Some people, they're not so good for. They're not great for me because I find when I dead hang, sometimes when I compress again, my spine compresses slightly off and gives me a bit of an impingement. But it is great for grip strength, great for shoulder health, back health, maybe not. I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. They're pretty decent. Definitely good for grip. Get some fat grips. Hold on to failure. Your hands and forearms will blow up. And totally relax the rest of the body. Just let the grip be kind of rigid. Toxoplasmosis. So, if I'm not mistaken, this is a relatively Southern American kind of cat disease. It's this, like, I think it's a neuro disease where cats get it from rats. They eat rats in South America. I might be so wrong here, so don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Cats eat the rats. The rats give these cats toxoplasmosis, and the toxoplasmosis is then given to humans, typically men. And in men, it makes you more aggressive and just kind of like more toxically masculine. You get a bit rapey, get a bit violent. So as far as hypertrophy and all that goes, it might not be that bad. If you want to get all aggressive in the gym, feel like you're on tren or something without all the sides. I think toxoplasmosis might be pretty good. I think it's like 60 to 70% of South American men have toxoplasmosis. Some crazy number. And it would explain a lot of things, like the cartel and beheadings and all that kind of shit. And with women, I think it does kind of similar thing. A virilization of the brain makes the women more promiscuous and sexual, which I guess is kind of cool in a way. So toxoplasmosis, in the context of fitness, I'll give it a 6, because that aggression might give you a little edge in the gym. If you guys have ever seen a guy called Wagner Bortolato, he's a perfect example of this. This dude's an arm wrestler who's just fucking loses his shit at the table. And he's jacked as fuck. And for sure, he either has tren or toxoplasmosis or both, but probably both. And yeah, if you wanna feel amped up, maybe you should get on that toxoplasmosis. Just get a bunch of cats and just cuddle with them for a few days. All right, next tier. This is tier 6. No, yes, tier 6. We'll call this. What's this? I guess we'll just call it Sumo tier since it's a sumo wrestler. Sumo 6. So let's get into it. It's getting a little more out there. I can already tell by the first one, which is the 8-hour arm workout. Now, this is takes me back to the GOAT, Rich Piana, rest in peace. They did you dirty, my man. He coined this term, the 8-hour workout, arm workout, where he would basically do arms for 8 hours with short breaks where he would consume protein. Every hour or so, he would consume a protein shake and then he'd go back into it. And the validity of this, I'm not so sure that you could write this one off as bullshit. Some people might think this is fucking crazy, but I think there might be something to this in the sense that going back to that hyperplasia idea where you do a shit ton of volume and frequency and fill a muscle with just an immense amount of glucose and blood or glycogen and blood, I could imagine just from my like pseudo bro sciencey brain that you might be able to induce some sort of hyperplasia through that just high amount of time and attention for 8 hours, from just forcing so much blood into the muscle. And then you might also get some sort of hypercompensation reaction where the body is under such due stress that it has to really adapt a massive amount. So I don't know, maybe I'll start doing these, once a month or something and just document it and see what happens. I'm finishing my 2-year shit cut right now, so maybe I'll start, when I start my bulk, I'll give it a go and see what happens. I'll give it a 6, I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10, just because it may or may not work. Deep web image boards. So this is one of those ones where we're getting more esoteric, so they just throw random shit in. So I don't think this has almost anything to do with fitness. I guess if you want to know what deep web image boards are, you can go find out. I'd highly suggest you don't. But you could just imagine all the most depraved, disgusting shit on image board on the deep web. So I mean, the only thing I could think of is when you're looking at horrific, terrible things, that maybe this will give you some sort of like testosterone response because you're in some horrible war-like scenario you need to survive. But I would imagine it would do the opposite and just give you a bunch of cortisol and lower your test. So don't do this. I give this a 1 out of 10. Very not a good idea. Hypnosis. Now this one, as esoteric as it might be, I think there's some validity to this for sure. Hypnosis is the process of where you go to someone psychologically trained typically, and they kind of get you into a relaxed state, and they try to get into your subconscious, some real kind of Freudian, Jungian type of shit, and then they kind of try to impose their will upon you on a certain thing. You might want to quit smoking, so they tell you that smoking's terrible and it feels really gross when you smoke, and now every time you smoke, subconsciously you will be repulsed by it. In the context of fitness, I could see this being a thing, and this has been demonstrated before with people like Mike Tyson and different athletes who, Customato used to hypnotize Mike Tyson and tell him he was the greatest athlete of all time, he hyper responded to training, he's excellent, he's the best, blah, 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 and then what happens? He goes on to be the greatest boxer of all time. So maybe biokinesis works a little bit, and maybe if you convince yourself that hypertrophy, convince yourself you have exceptional genetics, or you're growing, you're like the whole CT Fletcher thing, I command you to grow. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe our cells react to our thoughts a little bit. So maybe give it a go. Maybe I'll give it a go. Experiment with it, see what happens. I know anecdotally, as a teenager, my mates used to always tell me I had huge biceps. I didn't really have that big of biceps. They were big because I used to train them. And they always say your biceps are fucking huge. And to this day now, the only good insertion point, the only muscle that I have that's anything genetically gifted is my biceps. Everything else fucking sucks. I have the worst genes ever. But my biceps are fucking pretty decent. Maybe it's got something to do with that. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? But hypnosis, I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. I think there's something to it. Rocking chair. Yeah, I don't know. Wait. Rocking chair. I haven't got a fucking clue what this means. I mean, I know what a rocking chair is. It's a chair that rocks, right? Maybe... Oh, man, if I had to go on a limb, I'd say maybe rocking chair would help with the lymphatic system, because that kind of this motion might be able to kind of... similar to kind of bouncing or jogging, where your body's moving through space and thus your lymphatic system is kind of flushing. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say rocking chair. But also, this might be some like Scooby 1961 thing where he did like butthole squats on a fucking rocking chair and now it's on this list. Like, I don't know. But I'm just going to say it's lymphatic, and I'll give it a 5 just because the lymphatic system and flushing that through bouncing and different techniques is actually legit. Rocking chair, dunno. No washing hands. Yeah. Nice. That's good. No washing hands. Well, if you don't know what that means, it means you don't wash your hands, right? I guess. And in context of, fitness and health, maybe when you don't wash your hands, your immune system will increase, thus you'll be less sick all the time, and thus you'll, when you're not sick, you can train more frequently. Maybe it's also that when you wash your hands, you get fluoride and different chemicals into your hands, and it seeps into your skin and fucks with your hormones. I don't know. I'll give this one a 4 out of 5, just because it could work, but it's kind of fucking gross, so maybe wash your hands. Don't be, yeah, I'm gonna say that. Isolation. So, this could, because it's so far down the list now, this could mean so many things, but I'm gonna assume it means muscle isolation when you train and you hit a muscle through one joint. So a bicep curl is just pretty much a one joint movement. It's elbow flexion, and this is thus isolation. Whereas a bench press is compound because there's innumerable joints moving through space. So I'd say isolation in this context means that, and in which case I'd say it's good. You need to isolate. A lot of people don't isolate. Well, not a lot of people, but some of these meme kind of 5x5 retards who are like, oh no, bro, just do your chin-ups. You get big biceps that way. It's like, nah, you got to isolate these muscles. And I think you should even isolate the big muscles like chest and back and all these different muscles. They should be isolated. From the very least, just to make sure you don't have any imbalances. So I'll say isolation is an 8 out of 10. It's important. And maybe it means something more aesthetic, like just isolating yourself. But I don't know. Coffee enema. Alright, well I remember this one from a fella. You guys, some of you might know this fella, he went by Nether Beast. And this dude was a real out there kind of guy. He was the bottom half of this list when it came to fitness. He embodied it all. The whole pine pollen, putting coffee up your butthole, binaural beats, Vince Gironda's schizo techniques, you name it, he had it all. And this is one of the things he definitely coined first in the fitness industry, which is you put coffee up your butthole. And supposedly, what happens when you put coffee in your bum, it detoxes all the shit in your rectum and colon and any kind of like, I don't know, toxic waste. It'll get rid of that. And then you'll also kind of get like a euphoric energy from the coffee when it gets absorbed through your colon wall rather than getting digested by your stomach. I'll be honest, I tried this once, or like a few times, maybe 5 times, and I think there was a little buzz from the coffee. I don't know about the whole reducing inflammation, increasing your gut health stuff though. It's just not fucking worth it. It just feels really gay and weird. So yeah, I give it a 4 out of 10 just because I don't know how really legit it is. Next one, skin brushing. Skin brushing is when you get, I'll show you. Where is it? Fuck it. I don't know where it is because I don't even do it anymore, but skin brushing is when you get like a straw brush and you just brush your skin. You get rid of the excess skin on your skin. And some of the benefits to this is it helps with lymph node or lymphatic system kind of flushing, helps with circulation of the skin. So if you have shitty skin issues, skin brushing can help. And then on the side of hypertrophy, there could be something to it in the sense that the localized area might increase its capillary mass, which then will potentially increase your ability to have a pump in sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. So I'll give it a 5.5 out of 10 because it may or may not work, but it's one of those things where it's so easy to do, then why not fucking do it? Pine pollen. So this is another one of those Nether Beast things, and he used to do pine pollen enemas. Pine pollen is it's just bark from a pine tree in California, and supposedly it has anabolic effects when you consume it. Now, nether beast used to put up his butthole because the idea was when you digest it through your stomach, you lose a bunch of the anabolic effects of the pine pollen. However, when you put it up your butthole, it gets absorbed straight through the butthole rectum fucking lining, and then you get all the anabolic effects. I don't know. I never really tried that shit, but maybe. He was also known to be a fake natural, so, you know, and then he might have most likely faked his lifts. But there was some stuff to that guy. I don't know. If you guys want to go down the rabbit hole, look up Nether Beast, and you'll see a really jacked up kind of Viking / Native American Emperor of Mankind looking motherfucker doing pretty cool stuff. So I'll give it a 5 out of 10. There might be something to it. Tanning butthole. Yeah. I don't think this one really does anything at all. Hey, maybe it's like your fourth eye or something. I don't know. Hey, tanning your butthole. Maybe it does something. I don't think so. I'll give it a 1 out of 10. Muscle control. So I guess it's just talking about your ability to control your muscles. You know, like, you know, doing the whole pec dance thing. I can't see it through my jumper. Don't really have pecs anyway. But your ability to control the muscle, maybe mind muscle connection at the same time. Or, you know, when you see those like Indian dudes who can move their their abs around and shit, you know, you can definitely control your abs a lot. Vacuum pose, that kind of stuff, or just posing in general. I assume it just refers to all that kind of stuff. And I would say is in the grand scheme of things, this stuff's somewhat important. Your ability to control your muscles, contract your muscles, feel your muscles, all this stuff is somewhat important, especially when you're trying to train posterior muscles like your back, your rear delt, your glutes, etc. So I'll give it a 6.2 out of 10. Somewhat important. Übermensch sleep. Okay. Well, the Übermensch is a idea that Friedrich Nietzsche coined back in the 1800s when he was writing his books. I think the first installation of the Übermensch was in maybe I don't know which book he came up with it in. Might have been Das spoke Zarathustra. I don't know. I can't remember. But the idea is that God's dead and men need to become their own gods. Men need to become better. I interpret it as self-improvement, essentially, and the bridge to the Übermensch. Maybe I'll make a video on this in the future. A fitness YouTuber I like, Natural Hypertrophy, has spoken on Nietzsche before, and I like that guy. If anyone knows him, hit me up. I want to talk to him about high intensity training. But the Übermensch or the Superman is a coin termed by Nietzsche, and Übermensch sleep. I've never heard him say this. I don't know what the fuck that would mean, but I would assume it means something super esoteric, where it's like you get like the Superman sleep or some shit. You sleep so well, you're like Superman. So if you could do that, if you could get really sick quality sleep, I'll interpret it as that. I'll give that a 9 out of 10, because super good quality sleep's important. You could sleep 10 hours, but if it's shit, then what's it worth? Not much. So Übermensch sleep, 9 out of 10. Tier 7. We'll call this, I don't know what that is. Looks like some Indo-European warrior. Let's call it no, fuck it. I'm not gonna name it anything. We'll call it 7. 7's a cool number. Go bad. Go bad. Gallon of blood a day. That's good. I like that. I remember when I was a kid, someone convinced me Ronnie Coleman. He didn't take steroids, but Ronnie Coleman would consume monkey blood or gorilla blood, and that's how he was so jacked. He didn't need steroids. He was on some other shit, like fucking bull testicles and gorilla blood. So, hell, who knows? Maybe there's something to it. Gallon of blood there. Well, this refers to the idea of consuming 2.8 liters or a gallon of blood a day. I think it's 2.8 liters, maybe it's 3. That's a lot of fucking blood to drink. That sounds awful. And as far as how valid it is, I don't know. I don't think it would be very valid. Maybe there's probably quite a lot of protein in blood, and probably quite a lot of minerals. Maybe there's nutrients in it. I'm not totally sure, because I don't drink blood personally. I don't know. Anyone out there drinks blood? Let me know. Let me know if you got any cool gains from drinking blood. Maybe Ronnie Coleman, 14-year-old me, was onto something. But I'll say a 3 out of 10, just because I'm not fully sure, but most likely no. And it would probably not taste super cool to drink fucking a gallon of blood a day. Maybe it's like a Vince Gironda thing. Oh, and that fucking schizo. Alright, gravity training. Cool. So gravity training, I guess this refers to like the Dragon Ball Z training, where you go into the fucking like, you go into a planet that's really small and has really high gravity or whatever. Fuck, that's not how it would work anyway. But you go on a big fucking planet where the gravity would be higher, or you go into a gravity machine like Vegeta, and our gravity I think is like 1 or like 1 something, and you go into like the gravity chamber and your gravity will increase by tenfold, and you if you weigh 60 kilos, you'll weigh 600 kilos. And you just fucking stay in there, you train in there, you do your squats and push-ups. Good luck, because if you weighed 600 kilos, if you're 60 kilos, you're a twink or a manlet. And if you're 60 kilos and you're a twink, you're probably pretty weak. So if you weighed 600 kilos, you'd probably just fucking die. But let's say you could double your weight, and you could do this by just wearing a backpack or like a full bodysuit. I don't think this is really the best idea. You'd probably burn a lot of calories, but you'd also get a bunch of joint issues, and you'd get overtrained, and your central nervous system would be fucked. There's maybe something to that kind of extended training for one muscle group to kind of increase the hyperplasia, but just a whole fucking body weighing double or triple or quadruple or whatever, it doesn't. It's not gonna work. You're not like a Super Saiyan or something. So I'll give it a 2. MSH sounds like a hormone. If it sounds like FSH, or one of those kind of testosterone derivatives, but I'll give it a 5 because I have no idea what that is. Sorry. Orgones. Yeah, I don't know what that is either. Orgones. I'm gonna look these up and then maybe I'll refer to these after the video is done. All the shit that I had to look up, like MSH and Orgones. I'm sure this is something super simple and I'm fucking super stupid, but it also could be something totally irrelevant. Alright, tiger testosterone. I guess this refers to like synthesizing or taking out testosterone from a tiger and then injecting it in yourself. And then I guess the like 14-year-old male brain of me would have been like, yeah, dude, tiger testosterone, it's like gorilla blood. It's just better than normal blood or whatever. It's probably the same, really. It's probably all tests is probably similar, just different levels. But maybe I'm wrong. I also don't know if you could really do that. Maybe I'll look into this. Maybe my next video is looking into animal hormones. I'll give it like a 7 out of 10 just because it sounds cool. And if you injected like tiger testosterone, maybe it would make you more tigerish. Something cool. Trepanning or trepanning. I don't know what this is. Again, it's one of those things where at the end of the video I'll have to go back and be like, and kind of retcon the lack of knowledge on it. Amphetamines. This is a real Mike Mensa technique here. So a lot of bodybuilders back in the late 80s and early 90s used to train on methamphetamines. If you don't know what amphetamines is, it's basically just meth that just makes you fucking really energized and focused, and sometimes a bit fucking mental. And yeah, guys in the late 80s, early 90s used to train on meth. You had the Mike Mensas, you had lesser known bodybuilders who would train on meth, and I imagine it would help. It would make you probably pretty aggressive if you took enough of it, and it would make you very focused and in tune with things. Probably more strength. Your central nervous system would be firing more. So yeah, meth workouts. Give it a go, guys. Try meth. That's all I can say. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I think meth workout would be pretty cool. Moon tanning. Yeah, I like that. That's good. Never heard of that one. Moon tanning. Well, this refers to the idea of going out during a full moon, or when it's a bright moon, and getting the tan from the moon, getting those Dragon Ball Z fucking whatever they called it that would turn Goku into a big fucking ape. I can't remember what they called him, but moon tanning. I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. I know nothing about it. It sounds cool. Maybe I'll give it a go. Maybe there's some like cool esoteric power behind it, like some sort of like magnetism or whatever. Give it a 4 out of 10. The next one is magnetism. which I guess refers to the idea of magnets, or like, you know, the Earth's core being full of metals, and that, you know, the Earth has a magnetic pull, or kind of, you know, electric ions and shit like that, like real kind of out there woo woo shit. You got iron in your body, so maybe like it's the idea that everything's magnetic, and that's, you know, will contribute to different physical characteristics. I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe try some magnets out, see what it does for your gains. I'll give it a 2 out of 10. Cannibalism. Yeah, this one might be actually pretty valid. Who knows? Maybe eating humans gives you like increased, you know, protein, or maybe it's got better like essential amino acid profile. Cannibalism is just eating human flesh, or the same species of you. So you go and, or you know, just humans in general. You just go up to them and eat them. That's cannibalism. You can do it when they're dead. You can do it when they're alive. Doesn't really matter. And as far as how valid it is, like, I mean, protein is protein, bro. Fats and proteins, they're pretty much equal. So, get back to that kind of Ronnie Coleman thing, gallon of blood kind of thing, target testosterone. We're in that kind of vein when it comes to nutrition here. Maybe give it a go. I'd imagine it would work really well, just as eating, you know, animal meats works well. So I'll give it 8 out of 10. Rabies. This one's pretty interesting. This is kind of like the amphetamines one, where like the effects of rabies will make you totally incoherent and insane, but you might train insane, like that. You know, that cool Super Saiyan. Those cool like anime fitness YouTubers, like the ones that like have like Goku shirts and shit. That shit's so fucking cringe. Just full Bugman mode. But you might train super like intensely if you have rabies. So I could see there being some benefit, but the downside is probably not worth it. So I'll give it a 3 out of 10. Rabies is just like I mean, actually, I don't fully know what rabies is. I know it's like a virus, and it kind of affects your neurology and makes you go crazy. Pretty sure that's what it is. Don't quote. Hibernation. Yeah. Hibernation. I mean, I know hibernation is basically when animals they go and sleep for like months at a time during winter, and they store as much fat beforehand so that they have the energy to burn. I don't know how valid this is for humans, because humans don't maintain muscle mass as good as a fucking grizzly bear does. But maybe there's something to it. Maybe it's like some cool fasting technique. I would imagine this is full of shit though and wouldn't work, so I'll give it a 2 out of 10. 8, we'll call this the Cthulhu tier. I'm not super sure how to spell Cthulhu, but we'll just put it that. So let's get into it. This is the craziest tier, right? Extra testicle implant. Yeah. That would actually be super cool if that works. And I mean, this is the idea that you just get someone else's testy, or maybe you grow one in the lab and you fucking just put it in your sack and wire it up and see what happens. If that worked, that'd be fucking 10 out of 10. No worries, that'd be sick, because you know, if your test level is 800, well, each testy's making 400. You add another one to that, now you're at 1200. So I don't know, if it works, it'd be pretty fucking cool. I don't think it would work, but I'll give it a 10 out of 10 if it did work. I give it a 4 out of 10 because it probably wouldn't work. That's a cool idea. Nephilism. Wow, this one's really out there. This is some like Diablo 3 type shit. Nephilim, I think, in kind of mythology, are the children between angels and demons, if I'm not wrong. And I guess the theory then would be that we're children of demons and angels. In which case we have cool powers we don't even know about yet, kind of like in Diablo when you have to find out what your powers are. And in which case that would probably be pretty effective for fitness, because you could have powers. So I'll give it like 2 out of 10, 10 out of 10 if it actually worked. Uranium calories. Oh fuck, what happened to my green? Oh, whatever, we'll use the white. Uranium calories. So uranium calories refers to the idea that if you could consume uranium without fucking dying, it's super high in calories. I think like even a tiny little bit of uranium has millions upon millions of calories in it. super high in energy. I don't think it would really do much. I think you would just fucking die. You'd probably get big in the sense that you'd be full of tumors. Like, you'd have a lot of cool tumors all throughout your body. But you wouldn't really be, like, getting big muscle-wise. So I'll give it a 1 out of 10. It's really not viable. It'd be cool if it was. Go to Chernobyl and get a bunch of toxic waste and just down it. Radiation. Same sort of thing. I guess the idea behind this, well, radiation is just when you're in kind of any toxic waste, like a nuclear power plant or anything kind of nuclear, and it just kind of changes your DNA and fucks you up entirely, gives you cancers, ruins your DNA, and you just fucking die basically if you have too much of it. But maybe this is referring to the idea that maybe radiation is one big psyop, and really it's like the ultimate way of transcending or getting jacked or whatever, and that this whole thing that radiation is bad for you is a lie, and that we should all irradiate ourselves and reap the benefits. Kind of like the dudes out of Fallout 4, those big green cunts. They're doing fucking great. So yeah, maybe it is like that, but you know, who's willing to try? So I'll give that one a 2 out of 10, just on the off chance. Chalky milk. So this refers to chocolate milk. Milk flavored with chocolate. And this is kind of like one of those old school kind of... I've only ever gotten this in Australia where, like, you know, you get like the old school workout dads who are like, yeah, mate, gotta consume your fucking milk, your chocolate milk after working out. Fuck that protein powder shit, you just chocolate milk all the way. And it's almost like chocolate milk, like the chocolate in the fucking milk has some weird anabolic effect, and maybe it does, I don't know. But that's kind of what it refers to, is like the like no knowledge kind of dad advice that's just like, yeah mate, drink your chalky milk and eat your Weet-Bix. I'll give it a 3 out of 10 because milk's not bad. You know, it's good for calcium and protein and carbs and stuff. 9/11. So this could mean a lot of things. This could be like 9 sets of 11. I might be thrown off guard here and say like 9/11, like the Twin Towers, and then just be told later that this is some stupid fucking like powerlifting volume scheme. Let's just say it's both. 9/11, Twin Towers, not super cool. You know, certain kind of Steen last name kind of guys. 9/11. Can't see how that's super good for hypertrophy. A lot of people died. 9/11, 9 sets of 11 reps. 9 sets of 11 reps as far as like a volume scheme. I mean, it's pretty close to 10 by 10 German volume, and in which case I would also give that a 1 out of 1, because 1 out of 10 rather, because I couldn't see the point. So yeah, 1 out of 10 for both versions in 9/11. New limbs, that's cool. That would be pretty cool. That's like the ultimate hypertrophy, is rather than building your own muscle, you build new limbs. In which case, that'd be really good for fitness. If you had 4 arms, you could bench press like 500 kilos. Well, you know, it depends on how strong you are. I would give this a 10 out of 10 if you could have it. If it could be done, that'd be super sick. And that might be tied into the radiation and uranium calories. So 10 out of 10 for new limbs, that'd be super cool. I would go for it. Skateboard squats, yeah boy. Scooby 1961. So this is referring to a squat variation that Scooby, that fucking retard, that ruined numerous people's gains throughout the 2010s. He made up a squat variation where you basically do a hack squat with a fucking skateboard. You put a skateboard on your back, and then you squat down on an angle and do like a hack squat. It's just some stupid Scooby home workout bullshit. 1 out of 10. Fuck that. Just do normal squats. Fuck Scooby. Jogging in the park. Jogging in the park. Yeah, I think this is a piss take, because you know there's nothing much esoteric about jogging in the park, unless there is. I wouldn't know much about it though. On the surface though, jogging in the park's just, you know, going for a jog through the park. It's good for you. It's like hiking, out and about. Maybe you meet some people. Maybe you meet a Sheila. It's a bit of steady state cardio. Yeah, it's good. It's good around the board. I'll give this an 8.5 out of 10. Levitation. There's not much I can say about this one, but levitation is the idea that you could just fly. You just fucking like float as a human. And if that was true, that'd be pretty cool. I would assume there's plenty of like cool feats of strength you could do with levitation.
I'll give it a 1 out of 10 because it's just doesn't make any sense. Unless you're like, what's that magician guy? David Lade. Or what? No, that's a fitness influencer. No, he sucks. Who's the cool guy? David Blaine. David Blaine can levitate. So this is legit. 10 out of 10. David Blaine. Tentacles. The only... I mean, obviously this is just one of those things where they just threw it in there because it's fucking out there. Tentacles are just, you know, like, kind of, like, fishy legs that octopuses have and squids have and stuff. And they taste pretty good. You know, teriyaki balls, they're pretty good. Probably a good bulking meal. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10 because tentacles taste pretty decent. Alright, that's it. That's all with me. Oh fuck, no, I missed one. No bipedalism. My bad. So I guess this would hashtag no bipedalism, by the way. I guess this refers to just never being on, you know, just two legs, just always being on all fours, kind of like a monkey. Our ancestors, or so they say. And I guess the fitness validity of this is somewhat. You could probably get a decent amount of cardio and decent amount of kind of upper body endurance by just fucking like crawling everywhere like a toddler. So I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Be decent cardio. You get like pretty athletic from doing it, and you know if everyone did it, eventually we'd evolve into like monkeys. It'd be cool. We'd be all strong. That's it. Now we're done. So I'm gonna maybe do the even longer version of this. There's a super fucking long iceberg that's like triple this. If this video gets any views at all, maybe I'll try it out. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe if what people want to see, I'll try it out. On top of that, I'm probably gonna make a bunch of videos in regards to some of the more valid and maybe even more esoteric points on this tier list, because some of them brought up kind of ideas, especially at the 8-hour arm workout. That's pretty interesting. I haven't thought of that one in a long time. Hypnosis, stuff like that's pretty interesting and probably not super tapped into. So thanks for watching, cunts. Bye bye.